Hey guys, welcome to another podcast. I've got a buddy of mine, Alex Bowman, here with me today. Thanks for joining me, Alec.
Hey, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
So, Alex, you've got two companies, which I think is really neat. Most of my guests here just have one. You've got two. You've got Elk Country Painting and then Bountiful Painting. And Elk Country, you do something kind of unique. Um, you focus on log cabin restorations on that business, right?
Yes, we do. We focus on the log homes.
Yeah, and then your other business, Bountiful Painting Company, that's kind of your more traditional like interior exterior painting and stuff, right?
Correct. Yes, we do. Bountiful Painting has a high end section of homes, and we kind of cater to the niche of that, and like the interior and exterior business there. So
And you're in the Salt Lake City, Utah area, right?
we're just north of Salt Lake, about 5 miles. So we are in the Salt Lake City market and the Davis County market, just north of there.
Gotcha. So when we were talking like before, I think one of the like really cool things for me was this log cabin thing. You were telling me earlier like how few tradesmen are actually in this field, but you know obviously log cabins aren't as popular as like a brick home or a siding home or anything else, but what's really neat is like you have virtually no competition in this, right? I mean, like there's just almost nobody that does what you do there.
There's very little contractors that do what we do, and the ones that do, it's not something where you really have a chance to learn it. I mean, you either have to go to a trade seminar, you have to have someone who taught you this that knew the generation before, or you have to learn it yourself. And so the competition is very, very slim in it. There's very few contractors, and there's a ton of log cabins in certain areas, and there's just not enough contractors that fill that market. But there's definitely very little competition, so you kind of have to control your area of the market and provide a fair value so that way that the homeowners are getting what they need, and the house is taken care of and maintained the way they need them. So
I mean, do you have like any sort of real competition in your area for the log cabin
well,
business? I mean, I know you do on the residential painting side, but on the log cabin side, is there like anybody? You don't have to name any names, but I'm just curious, like, what does that competition actually look like there?
being that I'm in the Rocky Mountains, there is competition here. I mean, there's quite a few cabins throughout the West here, and I mean, they've always been being done. So there are, a number of companies in Salt Lake City. I would see less than 10 that do the staining and the sealing of cabins. And there'd be even fewer that do sandblasting, probably about six of us that do sandblasting. And then you get down to the full restoration to where you're doing log repair, face repairs, things like that, where you have rotted out logs, where you're pulling full logs out of there, section of log walls, everything like that. You have to straighten logs that have kind of budged out over time, or log walls that are bowing, stuff like that. So it just depends how far in the niche you want to get. There's a need for it everywhere. A lot of log cabins are done and people don't restore them for 15 years when we need to be doing these every 3 to 5 years. And so within the niche, there's a ton of niches, and we go all the way down to full face and log repair. And so there's very, very little competition here in Salt Lake that actually do what we do. I work all over the West. Actually, I'm bidding up in other states. We're moving into Idaho, Wyoming, Colorado right now, because there's just not enough people that do the actual restoration of bringing these cabins back to life.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I mean, it's almost like in a way like old historic homes or like lead paint, kind of uh, painting or just any kind of really specialized thing. You know what I mean? This isn't just a regular latex kind of thing you put on. This is a very specialized niche. How did you get into that? I mean, was it just location because you were there? Like, I mean, it seems like you said before, like it's not something that's easy to learn. There's not tons of people to do it. Like, how did you actually get into it in the first place?
Well, going back, I never really even thought I was going to be a painter. So it's not something I dreamed about being when I was a little kid, And one day I had the opportunity. My uncle's been a painter since I was, before I was born. It's something that he loved to do. He had great passion for it. He operated a business in northern Michigan around the Traverse City area, and these were really, really big homes. there, and so he was a specialist of really high end residential painting. And another thing that he did a lot of in the northern Michigan area was the actual decks and wood, and there was quite a few log cabins in that area. So I did get some experience with log cabins there. But after I moved back to Utah and I spent some time around here building my paint business, I have actual land. My family's had land in the Uinta Mountains for over 40 years. And being in that area,
Oh, that's
just
cool.
talking to people, I was able to connect with someone that had a log cabin and they wanted it done, and I had the basic knowledge of it and they had the basic knowledge and they weren't so worried about it, so I bid it kind of really low and we just kind of learned as we went. And as I did that, I just realized it was my true passion. I mean, I love logs. It's something totally different than painting, and they're a complete different kind of home. And it just grew on me so quick that I started learning as much as I could. I was watching YouTube video after YouTube video, just learn and read and everything I could, connecting with the company that these guys had, that they were using. And from there, it kind of just blew up. And, reaching out to this company has been big for me. They've got me in their catalog. And so they've got me all over the West here in their catalogs, and people reach out to me from all over. And the business just has kind of grown. We
Like the company that builds them is referring you for restoration and
it's
maintenance work.
It's actually the product that I use. So it's the catalog for the
Oh,
product I use. They're referring us as preferred home contractors to the homeowners in these rural
that's awesome.
areas. Yeah, so it's great. I mean, it's a great way to advertise with them at no cost out of pocket to me, and being
Yeah,
one.
like getting pushed by Sherwin-Williams or something. You know what I mean?
It is,
Yeah.
and I mean we're pushed by one of the very top companies in the nation, and so it's great, and so we have an advantage in the market right there and getting into this, and it's been just absolutely amazing to do this, and we've just had to learn how to show more value than these other guys and go further and get better guys. And I start seeking talent all over the West. I want the very best talent to provide for these homeowners, so that way we can provide more value in the bid for the little bit of competition we do have. So that's basically how it started and where we are now. So
What is what I mean? What is hi I know hiring is always a hard thing. Like hiring. Not it's not impossible, right? We build good culture. If you're a good leader, you can always find people to work, right? Um, but I imagine that when you start, getting to something this niche, with a few hundred guys in the country probably that do this, it's not like
yeah,
tons and tons of people. Like, how hard is that recruiting? I would assume it's fairly difficult.
it has its pros and cons, and basically the advantage we have is that if you're a painter, you have the basic understanding of caulking, sealants, stains, everything like that. So I mean, very little equipment are we switching. If I'm going from rural painting to cabin log homes, I a couple tools, that's it. And so it's very similar. So we do have that where we can try to get these painters that live in the rural
Cross train
areas.
people then?
Yes, we do. We cross train from painting industry into the log home industry. I seek out log home experts, but like you said, they're far and few in between, and not many come my way. It's more networking with subcontractors. If we need extra help, can we get a good contractor to come help us? So what we're doing now is we're thinking about trying to recruit high schools and try to build a career path for them to be able to come into the company and learn that way. I'm all over Facebook. I'm constantly advertising for this stuff. And you were talking about being a good leader, and that's one thing you really have to learn, because when you start in this business, you don't know everything, and you definitely do. And I've lost plenty of guys just on that alone. So when you're out in the middle of nowhere and you don't know leadership skills, I mean, that's playing against you right there tough. And so the first many years of this, I've been in business for 15 years doing this. The first 10 years of this has been super rough, just trying to learn leadership skills. And we've got to the point where now we're getting guys, we can find the guys, we can get the guys on, but our problem is not having the systems to hire them, to keep them on. So that's what we're really focusing on now, is building these systems to where we can keep these guys retained. We're building retainment packages, not just here's a bonus package or a package here, a retainment. We want you for life when we hire you, because we're
Yeah.
going out in the middle of nowhere. We've got to have guys that are trained that do this. And one of the biggest things we learned is per diem. we weren't charging per diem when we started this. That was really rough. It doesn't keep guys around, so we've actually had to
Well,
add that
I
in.
mean,
So
yeah, you're probably not dealing in like HOA type homes here. You're probably like kind of having to get off the beaten path because like I've just been in log homes. I've seen log homes, and I've never seen one that was like door to door HOA style. Like it's like a log home, log home. I've never seen that. I mean, it might exist, but I'm assuming that you got like you kind of have to get off the beaten path, drive up the mountain to kind of get to some of these homes, right?
you do, and there are HOAs within there, but it's the cabin
Mhm.
neighborhoods. It's a two neighborhood area where they have a small HOA. Where I have land, my family has land, is in a HOA there, but it's not your typical HOA like you're talking about. I mean, these are 40,
Yeah,
20, 40, 10 acre parcels. So these cabins are spaced in if they even have a
yeah,
cabin. So, and these
yeah.
are on dirt roads back in the mountains. So, yeah, you're getting back there. You got to get back in there. You got to have four-wheel drive to do these things,
Hence,
snowmobiles.
hence the per diem, right? Because I mean, just you got to travel a bit and kind of
Yeah,
get off the beaten path. So that makes sense.
We
Yeah,
we sleep in tents most of the time. I mean, we
really.
stay in campgrounds. We sleep in tents. I've been trying to be
Wow.
better to the guys as we get older. It's a lot more rough on our bodies, so I'm finding I've got one area where we work where there's some hot springs and a resort down the street. They do a wonderful deal on that. I'm trying to get areas like that, but it's just kind of building all that. It's rough. It's not your normal paying business, so it takes a lot longer to kind of learn this stuff. But yeah, we do a lot of time. I spend at least 3 to 4 months in the tent sleeping on the ground a year, and it's rough on my
That's
body.
great
I'm 40 years old. It hurts now, but I mean,
for sure.
it's my passion.
Yeah.
I love it, and I believe in it, and so it's well worth
Well, I
it.
think what's interesting here, what I like about you, man, is like it's yeah. I mean, it's a business, and you're finding ways to make it profitable, and you're growing and expanding, and you made some really cool progress. But at the end of the day, this is like a true craftsman skill. But you know what I mean? Way more than just like rolling or spraying some latex on normal interior or exterior wall in a home. That's a not that difficult of a skill to teach. This is like way more you got to have way more love for this passion for these log homes to do what you do.
You do. It's totally different with staining and stuff like that. There's a little bit more to it. You're not getting the lap marks in it, stuff like that.
Hmm.
Compared to the flashing, like you're saying. And things are similar when we're actually sealing, which is the chinking between the logs there, those gaps.
Hmm.
You've got to be precise on that stuff. So we can't be like everyone else. You just wipe it up a little bit of caulk. I mean, we're going over logs. You drip on that, it's visible. So it is a lot more precise, and in some aspects it's easier because we're outside, it's logs, we're being able to move the stain around on them, and others it's not. But it's really dealing with weather. I mean, explosive thunderstorms, the hot to the cold. I mean, we're at 90 degrees during the day, and we're down to 32 degrees at night. And we're in these tents and dealing with this stuff, and it's hard on your body there. So it really takes a
That's
love for it and a true craftsmanship to actually replace logs, cut half a log out of the home, and be able to put another log in there and actually make it match to old stain. There's a lot that goes with it, and it is a true passion. I mean, you have to wake up and breathe this stuff. It is a lifestyle. It's not just something that
that's
I
interesting.
do 8 hours a day. So,
Yeah, that's interesting. What do those expansion plans for you look like? I know you're talking about like gaining more ground and expanding outward and stuff like that. What does that look for you over the next few years?
well, my goal is to provide the very best log home restoration services. And so the more people I can reach, the better. We're just trying to develop crews. And once I get crews, we're looking to build. I always, everyone always tells me I have a plan and to have something focused on. And I kind of like the ready, fire, aim aspect, being like the universe and always expanding. So, I mean, I have a good goal. If I could be pulling in $10 million a year off the company, it would be great. But I don't even want to stop there. I don't even want to think like, where is my boundary? But over the next few years, I'd like to add, 3 or 4 crews to this and really be able to help the homeowners. A lot of the homeowners that come to me and they're almost in tears. They're just so worried about their homes falling down. I mean, when a log starts going, it's not like a piece of siding. I mean, these things, they're soaked up all this water and they're like a sponge. I mean, they think the whole house is going to fall down, and we really put them back into a comfort state. And so
Yeah,
that's really where I think, it being a passion and it's something we're meant to do, is that's what we want to do. We want to be able to reach the homeowners that actually need someone, that can't find someone because we're so few in between, that we can get to that. So my plans are just grow, 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 and just go after it. So
That sounds awesome. I mean, have you ever thought about getting into? I know it's not quite the same, but have you ever thought about getting into actually building and assembling them too, or is that not on the docket? Not sure.
every day I think more and more about it. I went to Sashco's headquarters this year and did some training with them, and they taught us a lot about traditional cabins from around the world. In Switzerland, Sweden, and
Mhm.
Japan, and the difference in the builds there compared to the United States. And some of these log cabin temples in Japan have never had a log replaced in over 1,100 years. And when you learn
That's
that, I mean, it's absolutely incredible. These things, they hold up forever. And so when you hear that, and you go to these log cabins that were built 4 or 5 years ago, and you're seeing the damage from the splashback, from the short eaves and things like this, and you're seeing it, and you just know that you could build something better, it tempts you, because I mean they should be truly protected. I mean, these log homes, if we did them right, they would stand up forever. And that's the thing about a log home compared to a normal home and maintaining logs, is that a traditional log cabin, if you maintained it correctly every 3 years, you could get 700 years out of it, as long as you had the plan to do so. And so I do think about it often. I've been told by a couple of the different major timber mills and log home builders in the area that it is a dying trade, and that we should get into that as well. But the restoration end is almost a dead trade as well. So keeping it all alive is just, it's on my radar. So I wouldn't say that we're not going to go into the log home building, but at this current time, it's just something we're kind of thinking about. So
gotcha, gotcha. Well, excuse me. Um, I think, I mean, one of the most unique things for me here, listening to like, what you do here is like just how niche it is, and I know that it's not necessarily possible. It's definitely not possible for everyone to get in log homes. You go to like Miami Beach, there's not log home anywhere,
yeah,
right?
yep,
But, I think there's also something to maybe be pulled and extracted from this, like, the mentality of being a craftsman here, but also your finding of something that is just really tough. You know what I mean? And it might be different for different people in different areas, but there's almost always in areas like some kind of building or some kind of painting or some kind of thing that like just really isn't done much anymore.
yeah,
You know,
yep,
where I live in Jacksonville, there's a bunch of historic homes, and these homes have mostly been built in the late 1800s to 10s, 20s, 30s, 40s, 1900s,
mm, yeah,
and of course that means lead paint, and so what's interesting is like people want to get these things repainted and remodeled and refinished and sometimes brought up current and things like that, but there's laws and local codes preventing you from like tearing it down, just building a new home, right? Because
yeah,
they want to keep this nature. On the same side, there's all these like lead abatement rules and stuff where it's like, okay, well, I've got to do this historic way.
mm,
I've got to do all like these glazing techniques, and like I've got to use like similar wood. I can't really change the aesthetics much. I can of course use modern paints, but I got to get rid of all this old lead paint, and man, what a pain in the butt, you know?
oh yeah,
Um, and what's interesting is like I know most contractors stay away from that niche stuff. And like you're looking at, it's not quite the same niche, but you're in a niche. And I know it's expensive for what you do. It's time consuming. You guys have to spend like days, weeks out there, and you're camping while you're doing it. That's not cheap, that's not quick, but yet you found a way to do that, right? And so what I think is interesting is like, what could someone potentially learn about like finding such a hyper focused niche and being able to own the craftsmanship behind it to the point where like you're like the only logical choice, you know?
yeah,
And I mean, at that point, you can almost write your own price tag. So if there's only one of something and you need that something, you're going to pay just whatever it cost.
for
You know what
sure.
I mean?
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that, man?
It's interesting to me because it go. I always believed if you go where the others aren't willing to, their competition won't be there, and I found it. But you have to be willing. The biggest part of it is you have to be willing to fail, because we fail a lot. We underbid things, not realizing what it's going to cost to stay out there for 5 weeks instead of the two we thought it was going to be because of weather or rain. Monsoons come in here in the summertime and they just wash us out, and so
Mhm.
factoring all these things in there is so tough. But what I can say is having determination and not giving up, believing in yourself, number one, that you can actually do it. I mean, those are the main things that you have to possess. Without those, you're not going to do it. And then after that, just try and fail, try and fail. And you start learning it, and the more you love it, the more you get into it, the more you learn. But it's not something that I'd say when you go into something like this not knowing exactly what to do. It's not going to come quick. You can't expect to make a lot of money, but I mean, if you don't give up, it pays off in the long run. And I truly, think that anybody can find something like you said, the lead paint thing, or you know, wherever you're at, there's something special that nobody's doing that has to do with these coatings, and you can find it.
Mhm.
And it's going to be a lot more tough. But when you get there, and when you get to where those are, and you look back, the competition's miles behind you. So you have that
Mm.
advantage, like you said, to write your price tag. You just can't be afraid to write that price tag. I mean, you have to do it. And it can be
Mm.
terrifying thinking that people are going to tell you no and you're going to go out of business. But I mean, you're going to
What's
go out
the
of
I
business.
mean, for you, like, what's the alternative? You don't do the restoration, you don't protect the logs, it literally does at some point eventually crumble down.
Yeah,
I mean,
it,
it
it does.
it might take a while, but eventually it would.
It does, and that's the problem with a lot of these log homes is people are calling any coating specialist or painter that they can find in the areas because there aren't these log home restoration experts, and they do get the band-aids put on these where I'm walking around with meters on these logs checking for the actual water in these, and I'm trained to find where these cracks are running through the walls where the average painter's not. We're not putting the band-aid on there, we're not covering up that rot, we're not doing those things. And so learning that's huge too, because I mean, when you're charging the amount of money you have to be out where we're at, and something goes wrong, people aren't going to be happy about it. And so that's the biggest thing about having a maintenance program is when I do something for you, I want to be coming back to your house every single year. I want to be watching your property, I want to wash it, I want to check your coatings, I want to make sure that your house has nothing wrong. And if it does, we're going to get into that because we don't want your house to fail, because like you said, they will. And then if we're the one maintaining it, we're the one at fault. So that's another real scary aspect
Do
of this
do
industry.
you do, do you do maintenance programs with all your restorations?
I do. We're in the process of putting everyone into them. Being that we're doing a lot of painting before, and we've been pulled into this niche quite heavily in the last 3 years. We've just kind of had to learn to go with it. But anything that we're going to come in and blast or take your coatings off of, we want to maintain it. If we come in to just stain your homes and just restore it back to the staining, and you don't need the blast, we want to come there because it's super important. A lot of people don't realize you need to be washing your cabin at least once or twice a year alone. You've got pollen, you got dust, you got all kinds of things that are blowing around on that clear coat, and then you got that UV damage. I mean, most people don't really realize that when you have siding, you have a flat surface, the sun hits at an angle and it kind of bounces off it. When you have a round surface, you've got direct UV hitting that top thing, and you can have a 100-degree difference between the top of that log and the bottom of that log. And you're baking in all that dirt, all those coatings, and or into that coating there. And so you need to be washing those things off. And if you're not doing this, then you're not truly doing what needs to be done for these log homes. So yes, that's what we're trying to do is offer these
Yeah,
packages made.
that's not something the average painter has to think about. But I do think that, like, what I do love is that you're thinking about maintenance programs, and I think that most tradespeople should be thinking about. Like, I think for pretty much any trade, there's a maintenance or something. Like, all materials, all building materials are eventually going to deteriorate.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Some of them longer than others. Like, I mean, if you go build a stone castle, it's probably going to sit around for a few thousand years, right? But
Yeah.
for most modern day building materials, wood, metal, it doesn't really matter. It's going to deteriorate. Paint's going to fade. Things are going to shift. Ground's going to move. Like, things are going to happen, right?
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I think, you know, I love the idea of having a maintenance program from the marketing side of things too. Because if you if you can get a customer and then you can find a way to keep that customer calling you instead of going back to Google or going back to somebody else the next time, that just brings lifetime customers.
Yeah.
You know, they're going to come back to you every single time. I mean, it's probably a little bit easier with you just because of the nature, the maintenance on the log home is going to be more intense. But I think that like pretty much anything that you paint, you could probably have some sort of maintenance program built in.
No, I completely agree, especially if you have warranties. You know, if you have a 5 year warranty on painting, exterior painting, that you want to be there every year. You want to be making sure that when you show up 4 years and they didn't tell you about it until 4 years down the road and there's a massive amount of damage, you already had it taken care of year one. You saw it, you took care of it yourself. You know, not only
Mhm.
are you do you have integrity for what you do and what you say, but at the same time, you're saving your own self because you're not going to show up and be like, wow, now that's a $10,000 damage I got to get off, come up with labor or money to pay my labor, everything like that. So,
Mhm.
I mean, in anything, in the rural painting, we have maintenance programs. In the residential painting here in Salt Lake City, we're building these maintenance programs because, like stucco, if you're painting stucco, you keep that washed, it's going to last a lot longer than you let that dirt build up. It starts fading out. Eventually, it's going to cake on there. It's not going to come off. The minerals are going to hit it. You know, so I completely agree with you. And
Yeah.
it keeps you on top of mind with your customer. I mean, you're constantly
And of
sending
course,
them.
tacos start spider cracking and stuff too, and that's easier to solve at the beginning than it is when it gets real big.
Yeah, way easier. And like you said, the keeping you in with the customers. I mean, they're constantly thinking about you. They're not running anywhere else. And most customers forget who you were. That's the problem. It's not that they don't want to use you again. They forget who you were because you didn't even follow up on anything. And we've been really big for a long time on leaving things when we're done, constant communication, writing, messages to them and keeping up on a lot of gratitude with just being appreciative of what they give us to keep top of mind. So the maintenance programs go hand in hand with that for marketing. I mean, it's a genius idea to have a maintenance program. You're showing up at their house every year, and you may have just painted their house, and you're going there to wash the house off. But hey, they got this shed, and they want it painted. So while you're there, can you get
I
that on
know,
the schedule? You know?
I know that's one of my biggest reasons because it keeps you top of mind, and you get that honeydew list that'll come back up. Oh, you're here already. What you do this project? Maybe it's a garage epoxy floor. Maybe it's another room. Maybe it's the shed. Maybe it's the you painted the outside last year. This year they want you to paint the inside. But just being having that repetition of coming back and doing these maintenance programs just puts you back in top of mind regarding their projects.
It
I mean,
say
I have a ton of projects on my to-do list and I forget about most of them until my wife reminds me of them. You know what I mean? And then and that happens for most people. They have these things that they want to do and they just won't get around to them, you know.
yeah.
But if you're there, you're like, "Oh yeah, you're the painter. Hey, what about this? What about that?" It's a fantastic idea to keep revenue up. I remember the first time I saw a maintenance program from a tradesman, it wasn't even from a painter. It was from an air conditioning guy.
Hmm.
I had a part go on an air conditioner. This is over 10 years ago. And I called the air conditioner guy, went to Google, did a search, found someone, came out, did the thing, fixed the part, was in and out in an hour. Very professional, effortless service, on time, prompt, all the professionalism check boxes were ticked,
Yeah.
right? And then when we're going around, he's like, okay, cool. So let me go ahead and walk through and show me the part that he changed and show me the box of the parts. So like I knew that he actually changed the thing. And the AC was, of course, working again. So you could feel the cold air. So we knew that part too. And did a little temperature gauge so that, the actual air coming out of the handle, what it was supposed to be. It's like, okay, cool. That's awesome. And then he was like, "Okay, so here's the bill," and kind of showed it to me. He's like, "And this is what we agreed to on the phone, and this is, nothing changed here, and we can just pay this bill, and it's cool, and we can part ways. But I want to tell you about our maintenance program." It said, "If you sign up, here's this deal. He gave me a little pamphlet. I don't remember what the price tag it was. I want to say it was like maybe $100, $200 a year or something like that. He's like, if you sign up for this, I'm going to give you 25% off today's bill, which already paid for the stupid thing. I like broke even. I was like, this is great.
Yeah.
Like, so what we'll do in the maintenance program is, you sign up for this. What it is one, or no, for them, it was two annual check-ins. They would do like a spring and a fall check-in on the system and check coolant levels and handlers and drains and just check all the parts, right? Whatever it is, they check all the
Yeah.
parts. And then that was included in the service fee. You'd have to pay for that. But then you got like a discount on Freon if you needed it. You got a discount on parts if you needed it for being part of that program.
Wow.
I was like, dude, this is a no brainer. Like, if I have a part going bad, I'm going to have you anyways. And I want to have someone come out checking my AC because I'd rather, especially living in Florida, I'd rather be proactive about that than reactive, right?
Hmm.
I got
Oh
kids
yeah.
in the home, pets in the home. I don't want a 96-degree day with the AC going out. That's not if you've ever, live in a hot environment and had that happen, it's not fun, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Over where you're at, if your heat goes out and it's real cold, it's also equally not as fun.
Yep.
So I was like, this is great. It's proactive maintenance. The techs are there twice a year or so. Anything that goes wrong, they're finding it. Hey, this resistor is getting out of tolerance. It's not broken yet, but it probably will break in the next few months. Let's go ahead and change it. It's up $80 part plus your 10% off. And I'm like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
And that was how that worked. And it was fantastic. Um, I immediately was like, man, this is a great idea. And I've been suggesting that to my clients since. I think that pretty much every trade can find a way to do it. I mean, plumbers could come in and do drain and toilet checks. Painters can do pressure washing for outside, maybe maintenance touch-ups for inside. You know what I mean? What you do with log cabins, of course, you got to keep them washed and check for sealant and moisture and things like that. But I think it's just an unbelievable way to get a little bit of revenue, but the revenue is not even the really big thing. You keep in constant contact with them. You're going to get repeat business. You're going to build lifelong trusted customers. You know what I mean? It's just a win-win-win every way you look at it.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, and how valuable is a customer? I mean, to find a customer that's a great fit for you, and then you can
Yep.
keep them. I mean, that's
Yep.
priceless. I would trade 10 customers that didn't fit me for just one of them, any day of the week. So when you can actually keep those customers on, it's the best form of marketing ever. And then their friends find out that you do these maintenance programs. They rave about you, and your advertising price goes down, your marketing prices go down, and it's just amazing. So it's
Well, I
absolutely
think
awesome.
that, one of the things I inevitably have to share with my clients is like, you can't really change the cost of buying traffic on Facebook or Google. Like, there's a price that this stuff costs.
Yes.
Like, if you could say the same about print or radio or TV. Like, there's a cost, and it's hard cost relative to where you are maybe, but there's a relatively fixed cost on what this is. And you're not going to go to like some TV network and be like, can I get that half off? That's not happening,
Yep.
right? That network costs a certain thing. Facebook traffic has a set price in your area, and it's relatively predictable.
Hmm.
It might vary a little bit, but it's pretty much, we can see what it's going to be. And so you can't really barter for that. But what you can do is control what happens after the lead.
Yep.
You know what I mean? You can be more professional when the lead comes in. And more importantly, like we're talking about, you have a good customer, keep them, do everything you can to keep that customer for life
For
or
sure.
as close to as possible, and to get them to refer you to people that are just like them. Because it's far cheaper to keep a customer than buy a new one,
That's for
you
sure.
know?
Yeah,
Especially when it comes to something super niche like what you're doing. I
definitely.
mean, the last thing you want them to do is like, you do this amazing job in restoring this log cabin, and then like them a year or two later going with some other person that messes something up. And then another 5 years after that, you're back fixing their mess ups.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
that's really not
Not
good.
good. Not good at
Not good
all.
at
So,
all.
yeah, no, it's
No.
great. It's just like you said, you do your base marketing, and then where you take the lead from there, can open up a whole bunch more. So that way you just have so much more opportunity. I just love you know, taking that alley and going that way and trying to keep the customer,
Mhm.
because a lot of my customers, I try to build some sort of friendship with them. I mean, I know that you'll never become full friends with all your clients, anything like that. And a lot of people say it's not good, but a lot of people don't trust contractors in the beginning, and in the most place, we have a really bad reputation, just like a mechanic. You find a great mechanic and you're like, wow, I'm sticking to this one. And so that's one of the things
Happens in
I
my
like to
world
do.
too. You know how many untrustworthy marketers are out there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Way more than trusted, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, and that's the same with the marketing, exactly. So I mean, there's people there ready to just take your money in a second. So
Yep.
it really does. And when you can put a good name on contracting, and be friends with your clients and have a residual relationship that lasts 10, 15, 20 years, it's peace of mind for them. They don't have to go
Yeah.
search, number one, so they're saving time. It's the easiest. Water's going to flow where the easiest path is. If they don't have to pick up the
And,
phone and call three
and you're
different
saving
clients,
time.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they don't have to
Yeah.
pick up the phone and do anything. They call you, it's done. And they're going to
Yep.
be happy and they know it. But you've got to just reproduce that same product and what you've been producing before. So it's
I think in general, like most people don't want to change providers for anything,
mhm.
really. Like, how hard is it to switch your car insurance? Like, I don't want to do that. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
it's,
What's the reason I might switch car insurance? It's really only one, because something made me unhappy with my current provider. That's
it's well,
really the only reason I'm ever going to switch.
yeah,
I'm not going to switch grocery stores unless for some reason they do something wrong or the quality went down or something. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like, generally speaking, we as humans don't like switching providers. So I think, you talked about something earlier, just to piggyback, and is like just being a person of integrity. Like, if you can be that contractor of integrity, you've already got their business, right?
yeah,
And if you can just be that contractor of integrity, very likely they're going to stay.
hmm,
As long as you're a person of integrity, do what you say you're going to do, treat them well, and maybe make it easy for them to get back in touch or to be on a maintenance partner. Like, just make it easy, right? But
for
as
sure.
long as you're doing good work and you make it easy, no one really wants to go anywhere. No one wants to go through the process of finding going through 5 to 10 painting bids again. You know what I mean? That's not
Yeah,
fun. You know, finding that contractor you trust, once you found them, you're there.
yeah, I completely agree. And nobody wants to have someone that did a job, completed a job they were happy with, and then get ripped off next time either. And that's the biggest scare that I find a ton of them have is that most people that are going to hire are terrified that they're not going to get what they pay for with contractors. And so
Yeah,
you can alleviate
there's a lot
that.
of work.
Yeah,
Lots of them.
yeah, yeah. And so you alleviate that right there. And I mean, you've got a really good relationship with the homeowner. So that's how we like
Sure.
to do things, definitely. So
what are the number one marketing, other than like retention is really big, and I love that. I'm a huge component of like retention. I think you make more money in retention than you do in marketing personally.
mhm,
And I say that as a marketer,
yeah,
right? You make more money retaining customers than you do spending more money on new customers. But that being said, I know that like you still have to do marketing.
yes.
What do you find is the thing that gives you the most like ROI? And for context, everyone listening, he's not a client of mine. We don't work together. I'm just genuinely
Yeah.
curious what you're marketing.
Well, I like Facebook and I like um, doing fun things on Facebook and being different on Facebook. It really does help out with getting leads and not only getting leads, being familiar when I show up to the leads. Another thing that I like doing here in Salt Lake City, we have KSL, which is our local news station. And I mean, they're really big through our community here. Most people that grew up heard it when they grew up on their parents' radio station. And if not listen to it today, you still hear it everywhere. I mean, they're a local TV news station, everything like that. So I like getting on with them, and I like doing different segments on their different shows, and I like working with them a lot, both online, on TV, and trying for radio right now because there's huge rewards in Salt Lake City with them. Probably one of the best on the national level. Uh, SEO and the websites. I was never big on that before. I never really looked into it. I didn't know about it. Starting my business the way I did, just being a painter. But it's amazing now that I've had a website built, the amount of traffic with the right people in the SEO there, how much is funneling into
Yeah,
there. And that right there is, I'm starting to see your biggest opportunity. What it looks like for me is just getting people to my website and funneling them back to me there. So
yeah,
that's what I like.
yeah. I love it, dude. Well, I mean, I think it's most contractors when I ask what they're doing for marketing don't say radio and TV. I love that you're doing that. I think it's in a digital age where everyone thinks about Google and Facebook, like, and don't get me wrong, that we do that on a day-to-day
Hmm.
basis. Google and Facebook rock. I think you're right. I think Facebook ads and Facebook content and videos, whatever, like they give you an opportunity for people to get to know you a little bit before they ever meet you. And that helps a lot. Helps build trust and authority. And they get to know how you speak, what you talk about, what you stand for, all that good stuff. And then I 100% agree with you on the Google stuff too. what I think I found most interesting what you just said is like the radio and TV, because I think one of the cool things that like in today where everyone is putting their money almost solely in Google and Facebook, I think one of the missing opportunities is doing some of the traditional marketing that people have kind of forgotten about.
Yeah.
Postcards, door to door, bus signs, radio, television, community events, like these things, like not as many contractors are thinking about them. Back up 20 years ago, like that's all people did,
Mhm.
right? Because Google was in its infancy, Facebook wasn't even around yet. Or I think 20 years ago, it was still in like the college only mode
Yeah.
at that I think it was about that point. Um, so like you look at that, like it's everyone did that stuff, you know? I grew up in a trade household and I remember helping with helping grow my family, paint business. And it was trade shows and community events and, you know, diner ad placements and billboards and things like that. That's what was done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now I think that with everyone shifting to Google and Facebook, I think there's some hidden opportunities in there, and some of these channels have gotten cheaper. It's more affordable to get on radio these days than it was then. You know,
Yeah.
when radio was the only way to advertise, or not, radio and TV were the biggest ways to advertise in your area 20 years ago. It was at a real big premium. You can get some really cool things. And I found this really cool thing. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but it's kind of a neat thing. It's a website called audiogo.com.
I have not.
It's it's kind of neat. I've played around with it a little bit for a few clients. You make a radio commercial, but it goes to like Pandora and Apple Music and things like that, right?
Oh,
So it's like the
awesome.
digital radio, right?
Hmm.
Still a radio of sorts, but like when you click on like any of those like streaming radio, it gives you ad spots in there instead of traditional like FM radio, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a similar kind of thing. You literally just record a spot, get someone to record a voiceover for you, and then you got this ad buy. So it looks like a platform kind of like Facebook ads, but it's all for radio. It's kind of neat. Um, but I think like what's really neat, I like what you're doing because it's different. It's not the average playbook. I think it's really unique. It's really cool.
Yeah. Well, I agree. Can't agree more with what you're saying. Number one, being different is the biggest way to be attracted to people. You stand out there. But traditional methods is how I built this. I handed out about 2,000 flyers when I first started my business, and that's how I built it. And I don't see it anymore. So I've actually started going back to those ideas when we're slow, things like that. Um, we actually were just invited by our product supplier to join them with a booth, coming up here about a month in Colorado. So we'll be right there next to them. And we're kind of doing that old stuff because, like I said, when you go where other people don't, that's where the competition's not. And I really think you stand out there. And like you said, everyone's moved to this digital. So everyone's digital. So you see 100 painting ads, but it's rare to see these things anymore the other way. And they kind of do stand out. And, you know, um,
And
it's
I
one
mean,
other way.
whatever marketing, just being different a little bit,
Yeah,
being
definitely.
unique is becoming more and more tough because more and more people are advertising and marketing. But
Yeah.
I still think if you're clever with your messaging, you're clever with your channels, you're just personal, I think you can build something truly unique.
Oh, I agree. So, and having all the systems in place together is what's really important too. You get exposed on TV, you have a good website in place, you got all that working for you, and it all just kind of works in the same place. And it's really about having systems and building these things. I've learned over time because I kind of just did this. I woke up every day and just hoped for the best, and and it got me somewhere, but it didn't maintain it, and we're to the point where you got to have a system of doing things. You do have to have marketing because you're going to run out of clients regardless. I mean, I built my business off word of mouth, and I was extremely busy off word of mouth, but I could not keep employees because we would run out of work. And that's the biggest thing, is you run out of work no matter who you are off word of mouth, and eventually it'll catch up to you if you are on a growth pattern or you're trying to grow. I mean, if you want to stay yourself and just do it all yourself forever, nothing wrong with that. You can sit there and go word of mouth forever. But what we do, my arms will fall off if I try to do all this myself. I'll be dead in the next 3 years. So you can't do
Dude,
that.
trades are hard, man.
They are.
You know,
Yeah.
I think you know one of the reasons I got out of trades personally, like I mean, I used to sling a brush and get on ladders and paint homes and everything. I am really, really fair skinned,
Hmm.
really fair skinned. I've been hospitalized for sunburns 3 times in my life.
Hmm.
That's how fair skinned I am, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, I was in this family painting business. It wasn't the only reason, right? It's just one of the reasons.
Yeah. Yeah.
And, dude, I'm out on doing these exteriors day after day after day, and I'm wearing sun shirts and neck gaiters and big hats and everything. It just doesn't matter at that point. Day after day, week after week, month after month, in that kind of sun, it's a lot, right? And
Oh, yeah.
as fair skinned I am, dude, I'd blister. I'm in Florida too. It's like it's really hot here. And I was like, yeah, I can't sustain this. I can't do this for 20, 30 years. I'm going to end up with
Yeah.
skin cancer. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
this
yeah.
is not something I can personally do. Um, so I think, that you get a lot of tradespeople that get like, they get hurt, the hips, knees, like, you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, at a certain point, we've got to go back to bringing more youth into this. I like what you were talking about, like doing trades from the high school and,
Yeah.
and going that route. I know Nick Slavic, from the PCA, he does a lot of not trade show things, but a lot of like youth things. I think they even have like an internship program. It's really cool. You
Yeah.
bring in youth and teaching them a trade, you
Yep.
know,
Yeah.
because a 4 year, 6, 8 year college degree is not the only way to make a great living, to make a great career. Trades are fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and I love that approach. I think it's really cool.
Yeah. It's great. And, I've worked guys of all age, and I find that the younger guys are the most ambitious because they're really starting out and they're really trying to build something for themselves. Some of the older guys, they're great. And you get guys that are just go, go, go. They've got a family to produce, and they do it. They're going to provide the best for a family. So you get other guys that are tired and they're worn out and they just never went where they wanted to in life, and they get a bad attitude. So I really like the youth because they want to learn. They don't know yet. And so they want to be taught, and so it's amazing. And like you said, 4 year degrees. I mean, you can go into them and never make it anywhere. Just like if you go into construction, and never make it anywhere. So there's always
Hmm.
a great degree you could get, but there's always niches in constructions that will pay you far past your wildest dreams. So it's
Yeah.
a great
Yeah.
thing to
There's
get into.
a ton of very, very wealthy people in trades. Like, I remember when I was growing up in the 80s, and I mean, this is, of course, like school too. So this is like youth, kids impressions. But there was in the late 80s and 90s, there seemed to be like a social thing about like blue collar being like less than college
Hmm.
educated.
Yep.
Um, and I think that, I mean, there may be some communities where that still carries over, but I think that has shifted a lot. Like, I think partly because socially we've started to realize these crazy 6 figure college degrees. I mean, there are people like leaving, 4 year degrees with like $400,000 in
Hmm.
loans that they won't pay off for 30 years, and they're going to get a $55,000 job.
Yep.
You can go make 40, $50,000 in the trades year one.
Yeah.
Like, why? You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, and I realize that in some careers, college degrees are like a requirement. Law, astrophysics, brain surgery. I get it. I don't want someone working on my brain if they haven't gone through a college degree. Yeah,
Yeah.
but like, there's so many of these degrees that are just like BS, like fluff degrees. You know what I mean?
I
And
agree.
they're not really meaningful. They don't really teach anybody anything.
Yeah.
Um, and so I think that like I'm liking where the society has been shifting back to like where like trades, it's an honorable thing, dude. There's absolutely zero wrong with it. And I think society was very wrong in the like late 80s and 90s by chastising it a bit. And I think I love where we're at. We're at a place where trades are once again respected, admired, and it's like a thing that we actually want to be doing. And I love it. Um, and I especially really, really admire it personally, like when it gets to like a really niche skill like yours.
Hmm.
You know, like, yeah, I mean, all trades are cool, but man, doing what you do is so unique and so niche. I just really, really have a lot of respect for like someone that has the determination to go down that lane that like not many people have traveled. I think it's really, really, really cool. And I think the nostalgia of it too, like you're keeping a trade alive that, if there wasn't the people like you, it would just die, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And then where would these log homes be? You know?
Yeah. For sure. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I agree with you. I that's one of the things that is my biggest passion is passing it on too, because it will die. And I was just in Tennessee a few weeks ago at the Permachinks workshop down there, Smoky Mountain Workshop, and that's what one of their guys was talking about was that it's a dying trade. I mean, he was breaking down. You can see his heart breaking as he's watching it die out, and so it really is. It's really getting to the point where it's sad in the log home industry that we don't have enough guys doing this, and I want to change that. I mean, it's such an awesome passion. It sounds like, oh, you got to wake up in a tent every day. It's amazing, and it is most times, and you have your downfalls. But to wake up in the middle of nowhere, fresh air, and to go put your passion into something that really shows in the landscape where we work in the most beautiful places compared to most painters. You wouldn't believe the views we have, and to do that is
Or
absolutely,
something.
yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
those mountains are something.
it's incredible what we do, and I think that so many more people would love to do it if we could teach it and if we could get it out there and if we could really show this. Because when you come work for me, I mean, you're making like what you said college degree guys are making just right off the bat. And I mean, your
Mhm.
opportunity to is so big with the company, because in order to do these things, we've got to have guys that find our campgrounds, that scout these things out. I mean, you don't just have to move a brush. I mean, we've got to build a whole company that's able to handle doing these cabins in the middle of nowhere and housing these guys and doing all these things. So really the career is there, and we just need the bodies and the minds that want to do these things and learn and push it on, and we can bring these things back. And I think it's one of the oldest things in the world for professions is doing these trades, building homes, building
Yep.
structures. So
Yeah.
it needs to be passed on, and these log homes are incredible. And the thermodynamics of a log compared to a stucco and insulated wall is incredible, the difference. So, and the
Oh,
R
yeah.
values
Yeah.
compared to the R value from the thermodynamics there are, it's insane to see these graphs. But these trades, we don't want these niches to die, especially out where they need these log homes, where they need to be doing these lead restorations. In Salt Lake City, we've got a bunch of buildings around our capital that are same 1800s, and
Mhm.
these are lead restorations as well. And I mean, it's super important to preserve the heritage of our city, to redo these things. We can't have them getting ruined. I mean, they were built for a reason, and they're just some of the most beautiful structures you'll see. So it's really
Yeah.
truly important to bring the youth into this. So
Yeah, I agree, man. Yeah, some of these trades are old. Some of these buildings are really old, and you know, um, I think it's really important that we focus on bringing youth into trades, or we'll wake up one day and no one will be maintaining them anymore, and everyone will have forgotten this lost art.
yeah,
So
yeah, and nobody will have anywhere to live, and but we'll all have
maybe you will. It'll just be in really cheaply built condos.
there you go. You'll have a good lawyer, but a horrible contractor. So
Oh, exactly, exactly. Yeah, and that's not a place I want to be in.
no,
Well, dude, I really enjoyed chatting with you today, man. Do you have any other, final parting words of wisdom for our listeners?
just if you want to do it, why not? You do it. You do it with a passion. You give it everything you got, and you don't look back. Burn the ships, as they would say, and you'll get there. And it doesn't matter if it's painting homes in the city or doing something out in the middle of nowhere. If you're determined, you'll find what you're trying to do. So,
I love it, man.
yeah.
I love it.
Well,
Well, dude, thanks so much for being a part, and we'll see you later, everybody. Bye
hey,
bye.
thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Hey, if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe. If you're looking for help growing your contracting business, I invite you to join my free community. In there, we go live with amazing trainings, share resources and downloads, plus you get free help from me and from peers. That link is down below to join, and we'll see you in the next video.